First, let me start by saying thank you for checking this out, and also let me apologize for the shakiness of the video, the audio quality. I really wasn't intending on making a video or anything, and I don't exactly have the stuff to do it. But I've been seeing a lot of, soft reviews for the 7hz Sal Notes Dioko. Let's see. I mean, as you can see there, these are the Diokos, the big, round, purple, shiny, huge things. I don't exactly understand the form factor. Hopefully you can tell their cable's decent. Like, it actually looks beautiful in pictures, videos. Feels cheap though. It's not exactly aftermarket quality, if that makes any sense. Like, all this stuff, very cheap feeling. The case is really nice though. It's plenty of room. I use it to put a couple IMs in here. But the point of this video though is the reviews I've been seeing. I've been seeing very few mention anything about the issues, and when they do, they almost seem to make it sound a lot less severe than the issue is. And I understand audio is different for everybody, so what might be painful for me might not be painful for somebody else. And of course, anybody who has been collecting audio gear for any length of time knows that sometimes you get used to stuff, and for instance, if you listen to a warm set day in and day out, and then all of a sudden a bright set comes in, it's going to be a little more annoying than it normally would. Eventually you'll get used to it, and then you'll go back to the warm set, and it might feel too slow, not snappy enough. You might end up finding faults in that warm set that you enjoyed so much just a month prior. So keep in mind, I do understand that, but I keep seeing things about these only being a little bright, lacking bass, lacking sound stage, soft, not exciting. Don't get wrong, there are a couple places I've seen reviews that make sense to me, but even some of the graphs that I'm seeing, I don't know if they're weirdly compensated or what exactly is going on, but even some of the graphs make it seem like the mids and vocals should sound very thin and almost tinny, but doesn't seem to match some of the graphs I'm seeing. So I see a mixture between too much hype on these or too much ignoring the problems. Now, I want to get it out the way right now. These are a great pair of IMs for $100. Technically, I have yet to see anything remotely close. Now, mind you, my most expensive pair is the OH10, and they're probably my favorite. The bass is very good. Treble's still crisp and up front, but I don't find them to have that peak that these have, or at least not to the severity of these. The OH10 does have that peak up near 8K or whatever, but it's not enough to add sibilance to anything. It's just enough to keep everything nice and crisp. Whereas these, like, especially right out the box, like, they come with this bag of tips. Let's see here, I'll try to see if I can dump them out through this one hand. Oh, that didn't go well, but anyway, it came with these, I guess, sticky tips on it from the factory, and the sibilance, like, right away was noticeable to me. It was not pleasant. I mean, everything's below the treble sounded absolutely amazing, but it was fatiguing. And like I said before, I understand everybody has a different preference and people hear different, but it reminded me, yeah, the best way I can describe these, it's like an I form of the, what is it, the Sandy Iva, or that, what is it, the monoprice M570, and I can't, there was a blonde one too, which I can't remember the name of it, but the, it reminds me a lot of that thinking about it now. I actually didn't think about it till just now, and it's very similar. Like, I'm hearing big bass, nice warm mids, full-bodied vocals, but just this weird spot in the treble that's just too much, and things get very fatiguing, and you do get the sibilance. And I see a lot of reviews ignoring that or pretending that they're not getting enough bass. And half of these people should be using gear perfectly capable of driving these. Like, on my desktop amps, I've only got to use it one day. I've actually been out on road trip, which is why I'm here with very limited stuff and not able to properly do anything. So this is kind of just a crappy video just showing an IEM and a cable. But I've been using this. This is what is it? The Sonata HD5, I think. Let's see. It's, yeah. Oh, of course the box doesn't say it either. Yeah, the HD5, and been getting tremendous bass out of it. Now, out of my phone, it's really, it actually does kind of sound thin. The bass is just loose, not that great, and it just makes it seem like an overall brighter experience and unpleasant. With this, that has worked great. I've even had this, I think I paid like $25 for this thing. It's actually surprisingly good considering the price. It has a good amount of power. This can even drive these almost equally as well as this, and substantially cheaper. And I was kind of surprised. I'm not noticing much of a difference between the two, but something different. But the point is, these are sibilant. They have that 8K peak. I don't care how many people say it's a artifact of the measuring rig or whatever. There's a reason why some IEMs don't have that peak in the thing and others do. It's all using the same rig. How come it's only showing up on known bright peaky IEMs and not the normal warm IEMs? Like, it's there. I don't believe the people that say it's not. The thing is, though, it's more noticeable with these. I found, much like the T3 here, the T3 Plus here, these seem to change. Well, I don't want to say completely change, but tips have a good impact on the sound. Like, going from those sticky tips to these red tips made a difference. It seemed to bump that couple dB off that AKP. For me, these the blue ones included, ended up being the best option. It's still peaky there, but I can like actually make it through podcasts now and stuff without every S and C and T and stuff blowing my brains out. It's actually, it's not as so much sibilant anymore as it is just kind of peaky in that area, a little spiky, sharp maybe. So it's very much tolerable, and it's actually at the point now where that extra brightness and sharpness is making a lot of the music I listen to so, I don't know, engrossing. It's giving me different takes on songs I've heard 1,000 times. and it's been a very pleasant experience. So it's kind of a give and take with these. They're not going to be your all arounders most likely, because even with this tip, there's still a little too much for some cases. Some songs, the way they're recorded, it's just going to be a little too much. But like stuff like Black Sabbath, I generally don't even listen to that much. And Metallica and AC/DC, it's normally not my kind of music. I mean, I do enjoy it at times, but that's the stuff I normally prefer seeing in concerts. It's not something I generally listen to in headphones. But with these, I have it's the best listening experience I've ever had with an IM, and that's my most expensive pair is the OH10, so I don't have any super high end experience. But mind you, this is $100 pair, and there are times where this is outclassing that OH10 severely, especially with the songs I just like, the types of music I just mentioned. It's hard to explain. It's a unique take on it, and I'm actually noticing things that I didn't notice with any other IM, like things I've only noticed with my Focals or my, you know what, the Hi-Fi Sindara for an affordable pair of headphones was giving me that experience as well. These are a little brighter than the Sindaras, and in my opinion, much more sub-bass. Like they do kind of remind me of the Sandy Ivas, like warm and bright at the same time. It's very strange. And interesting enough, even when I tried to record the frequency response of these, there's no point of me even sharing them, because I'm doing it in a very cheap way, and I only do it to compare my stuff. So in case I want to do any EQs or anything like that, I have a base, so I know how much to add to one thing to make it sound like another thing. So if I ever want to just compare technicalities and try to remove the tonal difference, and then I'm just kind of a geek with that stuff anyway. I like doing all that. And but these had this artifact. It's hard to explain. It'll do the frequency, and then it'll shoot up, shoot down, and then go back to continue on the frequency. On these, if I remember right, it's around the 2K, 3K. The Sandy Ivas did that same exact thing. The Sandy Ivas, the M570s. I didn't own the blonde one, so I never measured that hands-on, but the M570 and the Sandy Ivas both did the same thing. It would do that little peak up, cut down, and then go back up and continue on. It's almost like a weird ringing or something going on. But with the Sandy Ivas and the M570, if I remember right, it was happening somewhere around 800 hertz, I think, 900 hertz. The bass doesn't have any of that, and to be honest, I didn't hear it with the Sandy Ivas. Don't hear it with these. It's not an issue. It's just a strange relationship between the two. Like they have the similar sound, similar technicalities. Like these aren't the most resolving planar I heard. These aren't as crisp, clean, and quick as, for instance, even the Sindaras. They're not even that quick. But we're talking $99. They're bright. There's going to be times where there's just too much, but at $99, I have not heard anything come close to these technically. The bass, in my opinion, is worth it on its own. I don't understand the thin talk unless people are underpowering it. I mean, with just these cheap little dongles here now, like my regular Apple dongle. Generally, like in regular Android stuff, it doesn't have the power to get these going. They do sound weak. The bass is uncontrolled, but just cheap little dongles like these, is more than enough to actually get the bass to be big and present. And the rumble of the bass, again, is something I haven't heard in an IM before. Like, I've heard big, powerful bass in IMs, don't get me wrong. Like, the OH10 has amazing bass. It's very big and powerful down low, but these, they go so low. Like, if you listen to hip hop, and especially old school hip hop, like there's some old Dre stuff I was listening to, and most of my stuff, even some of my headphones, like I was missing parts of the sub bass. Like I would get some of the rumble, but it would be so much softer, less detailed on these things. It's like the deeper the bass goes, the more powerful and in your face it becomes. And it never bleeds into anything else. It never interferes with the vocals. It never interferes with the treble. I mean, nothing interferes with the treble on these really, but that said, it's such an amazing experience for $99. But I just want people to wrap their head around, these are sibilant. They are bright. You are going to have to swap tips and find the ones that fit you, like that fit you best, at least sound wise. Like for me, these blue ones that were included, like you get these yellow ones. For me, for instance, there's these small bore ones, these round ones. There's the yellow ones I actually got on, what is it? These are, what are they? I think the CA16s. Now, of course, that doesn't say it. Yeah, I think these are CA16s. On the Diokos, these small bore tips bring the bass up, and they make it not bloated, but almost uncontrolled, soft. I mean, it doesn't interfere with any other frequencies, but it takes away a lot of the detail, and you still get the painful treble. So I didn't bother with that. The red ones helped. These ones help because they're just a smaller version of the red ones. That didn't help. The sticky ones over here didn't help. I don't know. These are really nice. They fit really good. But even trying them on something like this is extremely warm, extremely bass heavy, and I've never found these to have any sibilance at all. But I put these on it, and all of a sudden there was some sibilance. For the 10T3 Plus for $50, I didn't think there was anything close. Like, even the Olina, I thought they were very similar technically. The only difference was tonally. I bought the Olina twice because everybody tried to convince me the whole bus mod thing would, it'd make it something completely different, and you'd obviously be able to tell how much better it is than the T3 Plus. I just didn't feel that way, so I returned them the second time, and these became basically my everyday beaters. But there's such a huge difference between these and these. Like, these are great all-arounders, but the details, the speed, like, even though these basically twice the price as that, it's worth that more than what you still feel like you're getting a better value paying twice the price for this than this. Alright, it's really nothing I want to show. I really just want to make sure everybody gets an honest, clear understanding of what you're going to hear with these. You gotta have power. You're not going to have good luck just plugging into your phone. Gotta have power. If you have power, they will be plenty warm in the vocals, have tons of bass. Some stuff you will notice the smaller amount of mid bass compared to, for instance, this. It won't be as, I guess, punchy all the time, but the more power you add, the more power there is in the bass, the tighter, the more you feel it. Like, it becomes tactile. Like, I swear, sometimes the sub bass and the bass will get going so hard, it almost feels like they're rumbling, like the buds are actually vibrating. It's kind of crazy. There is something else. EQ. If you're someone who uses EQ, buy these ASAP. They EQ great. And again, you pump up, obviously, like I said, you're on new power, but you bump up a little bit of that mid bass, maybe 2 dB around 150 hertz with a wide Q. And you can do, what did I do? I bumped down to 8K. I think it was like almost 6 dB, but for me, that's what made everything overall nicely warm. But everything above that was still somewhat elevated, so the cymbals and all that stuff remained so crisp. It easily became the best thing I ever heard in an IM with EQ. Like, it blew the OH10 out the water, EQ. So I don't know if people can find mods or anything to do that'll get that 8K peak lower. For me, that's the only thing stopping this from even destroying stuff in the $200 range. I don't know if extra filters will do it. I mean, most of the phones I've tried, like I've been collecting headphones for over 10 years. I'm fairly new to IEMs, but that 8K peak has always been a problem. I have almost never seen anybody successfully solve the 8K peak without drastically changing the other frequencies. Like, I had a DT990 that I modded. I was able to get that peak down, but it altered everything. It no longer sounded like the crisp, clean, powerful DT990 without the sibilance. It became a completely different headphone. Arguably a better overall headphone, but with this, I want exactly how it is, but with that 8K peak gone. The way it presents the sub bass, the way it presents the treble and everything, it gives such an amazing, unique experience that I would want to change that. I would rather have an IAM like this that gives these amazing, unique experiences at times and has use cases where it's just incredible than something that's just good all the time. I mean, because I'm a hobbyist, I don't mind having a bunch of gear. Maybe if you're someone who's looking for just one thing, this won't be it for you, because there's no argument. Anybody who says this isn't fatiguing, I don't know. I don't understand it. I've tried to look into the whole thing. What is it? Auditory adaptation. Tried this. It seems like if you are someone who listens to bright stuff over and over and over and over again, and you lean towards bright gear, you eventually become used to it, and what was once sibilant, you adapt to it, and your brain adjusts to make it not sibilant. You'll have to Google it, read all this stuff. There's tons of studies on it, literally hundreds. So it's a lot of reading, which is another reason why I'm doing this. Like, because I feel like 90% of all these reviews are bullshit. Oh, boring and all this and that, and it's okay. There's no context in everything. We don't know. Like, everybody at this point in this hobby, for watching this video, you're probably in this hobby. As a matter of fact, if you're watching my video, you must be, because this is definitely not going to be recommended to anybody. So you must own other gear. You must know if you listen to something for a while, when you put something with a completely different signature in or on, you'll notice weird things that you normally don't notice when you're using it all the time. You'll notice, oh, maybe this part of this woman's vocals sounds a little odd, and before you thought it was perfect and natural sounding, but you listen to something better for a while and you're trying to go back, and now you notice those faults. Like, I think there's a whole lot of that going on, and a lot of stuff isn't getting its fair share, or a lot of stuff is getting more than its fair share of recommendations. And this, I kind of feel, is in the middle. Like, I don't think people should be misled into thinking this is not fatigue and trying to, like, it's all, I swear you could see it in the graph. They even show grass with this giant peak. I think it was, what is it, HBB, the Hawaiian bad boy guy. I think his graph is the only one I've seen that for some reason doesn't have like a big 8K peak. I could be wrong. Might be somebody else's. I do know he was definitely trying to downplay it though, which I'm not saying he's wrong. He might not hear it. But then again, he's someone I always thought liked warm stuff, and then he released some brighter stuff, which I don't know. That's not what this video is about. I just want people to know what they're getting into with this. At the price, it being great at least 50% of the time, and giving you like stuff like Black Sabbath, Metallica, Guns N' Roses, no hint of sibilance at all. You don't notice the brightness at all. Like, there's lots of music where that sibilant characteristic and the brightness of this will not shine through. You're not going to see that fault. It's only going to be the positives of this, the big powerful sub bass, the beautifully warm textured mids, and the crisp treble. You'll get all that. It's going to be a wonderful experience. But there's other songs. I mean, it happens a lot, but these are prone to sibilance. If you watch YouTube and these without first finding tips that work for you, that get that treble down a little bit, you're going to have a headache. You're not going to be able to, hell, you might not even make it through the video. Like, these were borderline tolerable when I first got them and used it with these tips. Like, there's actually hip hop is something where the treble problems can become noticeable. So hopefully some of you guys maybe start finding ways to mod in. Like, I don't know if, for instance, playing with any of these vents will help. That's one thing I have not done, because there's 3 there. But like, there's that in there, there's foam under that, plus there's a white dust filter. Now I know you can double up on the dust filters, but that, again, that seems to only impact upper mids. Lower treble doesn't seem to help the 8K peak. Alright, what else is there before I let this run out? Like I said, I certainly wasn't prepared for this. And just finished watching a video of somebody basically crapping on these things, talking about how thin they are. And so I decided to look and read some other stuff, and I just seen all these videos, and they all seem to skirt around the sibilance issue, or downplay other things, or make it seem like it's better than it is. This has faults. These are borderline unlistenable at times. They're just great when they're great. Tips will get the 8K peak down a little bit. I don't know. Hopefully that's... Oh, let me get one last thing I wanted to mention. I don't know if you can see those holes. You definitely be careful with cables you get. Look at those holes. Unfortunately, I have to hold the phone in my hand, so this is a little difficult. Now, look at those holes. I don't know if you're able... Let's see. Is there any way I can do this with one hand? I mean, that... Oh. Oh, that was a waste of time. It's damn near impossible to tell. They look virtually the same size. What I will say, though, is trying to stick this cable into here was a bad idea. For some reason, The pins from the tin hi-fi seem to be way thicker than the pins from this cable. This is really loose in the tin hi-fi. Fits perfectly, obviously, in the Dioko. This 2-pin doesn't fit in the Dioko at all, but fits perfectly in the tin hi-fi. So unfortunately, it's the only cable I had with me. I didn't think to try any other cables before leaving, so I don't know if it's just the tin hi-fi cable that doesn't have a standard size, or it's this cable that doesn't have the standard size. So I'm kind of worried about buying an aftermarket cable for this, because if it's anything like the T3 cable, it's going to be big. It's going to stretch these holes out, and then they'll be able to use stock cable in there again without it being too loose. Like, this is the only other cable I got, and this is one of those, the ones with the sleeve on it for the CCA type stuff, KZ type stuff. Anyway, that's about it. Hopefully I made some sense in any of this. Just know you're getting a sibilant IM. Tips help. EQ makes these the best thing you ever heard at $99, probably even $200. They definitely need power. Don't judge them on what you hear plugging them into your laptop. Don't judge them on what you hear plugging them into your phone. Don't even judge them plugging them into a regular dongle. You at least need something. These, in my opinion, something like these two things are the bare minimum. You don't want to get anything less than that, and you're going to be sacrificing as part of the frequency. You're going to lose bass. It's going to seem like you're gaining treble, and it's going to ruin your experience with these. Get yourself something with power. Don't skip these if you're a hobbyist like myself. If you're someone, just a normal person looking for an everyday headphone, you're probably going to want to skip these. Get something else. I'm sure these will astonish you for brief periods, but they will get on you and eventually end up giving you a headache, and you're not going to want to go running or anything with these. Oh, yeah, and that's another thing, by the way. If you take these outside, the way the sun hits off this, just blasts out the side here, and it draws way too much attention. I never get asked about IMs I'm wearing. I put these things on. My friends have laughed. People I work with have chuckled. And so many people's, what are those? What are those? Like, wow, they're big. That's the comment I get. Big, purple, shiny. So, I don't know. Obviously, it's a personal preference thing, but they're going to be drawing attention. Maybe if you're sitting in a car or whatever. I mean, they do fit well. At least they fit me well. I don't have any issues, even though they're relatively big. They seem to actually almost be smaller than these things, and these fit well. I do notice, though, a lot of what keeps these secure is the tips in my ear. But I actually really like these blue tips that came with, even though you don't get a single small, medium, large. That's all like medium, large, or small. Yeah, medium, large. 3 pairs of medium larges, plus the stickies included. So if you wear small, you're SOL. Anyway, let me end this. It's 35 minutes. I probably haven't made any sense at all. Anyway, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoy Dioko if you end up buying it. In my opinion, it's worth it. Just know the truth of it. Don't listen to all the hype and the BS. They're great, but they have faults like everything else. Have a nice day.